Just pull it. Or I'll pull it.
This scene is from the 2017 film Call Me By Your Name, directed by Luca Guadagnino, based off the novel of the same name by Andre Aciman. The book itself is treasured chiefly within the LGBT community, and the film garnered critical and commercial success throughout its theatrical run, earning 4 Academy Award nominations, winning for Best Adapted Screenplay.
And the Oscar goes to James Ivory, Call Me By Your Name.
This is the first Oscar and 4th nomination for screenwriter James Ivory.
While Call Me By Your Name may have extended queer themes out into the mainstream media, it falls short of being the perfect film for queer representation. And this is largely in part due to the film's casting of straight actors in queer roles. It may seem strange to hark back to a film that came out almost 4 years ago and talk about the controversy surrounding it, but it is a fairly rare case of a queer film that has gone so incredibly mainstream that it continues to permeate the social zeitgeist to this day. And as it turns out, with Netflix's release of The Prom, the conversation has once again been ignited over James Corden's role as Barry Glickman. Chief critic at Vanity Fair, Richard Lawson, one of my favorite critics around, said in his article that Corden's flitting and lisping around in the most uninspired of caricatures misses all potential for nuance and thus never finds even a hint of truth in the role.
FDR might just be the most insultingly misguided, offensive, and laughable performance that this reviewer has ever had the squirming misfortune to endure.
While I would love to talk more of the subject of The Prom, at the time of recording this, I have not actually seen the film and am just relying on the reviews that I have read. Maybe in another video I can discuss it more at length. Members of the LGBTQ+ community have always stepped forward and noted the problems with casting straight actors in queer roles, hoping to highlight an industry in which the representation of the community exists as only a thin outer layer on top of a foundation that is an insidiously homophobic Hollywood. The industry in recent years has made several efforts into representing more diverse communities, but still at times falls short of the mark.
I said I like your boots! Goodbye!
This video will take a look at the persisting habits of casting straight actors in queer roles and why it deserves to be addressed. Film Gaze is a new channel created to focus on some of the film industry's most influential queer artists, characters, and stories. We are a new channel, so like and subscribe if you want to see more, and comment possible topics below. In recent years, there has been a substantial pushback against the Academy Awards and the entertainment industry at large for inaccurately portraying minorities in film. But as this broad discussion narrows down onto the representation of the LGBTQ+ community, the boundaries of who has the authority to portray these characters has become less defined. Since the beginning of the millennium, the Academy has awarded 3 actors for their portrayal of gay or lesbian characters in film: Charlize Theron, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Sean Penn, none of whom currently identify as being queer. But whether the actor's personal sexual identity is even relevant to the conversation has been debated, as regardless of whether they are queer or not, the stories that they are telling are rarely produced as is. In fact, there is very little criticism towards the performances themselves as being misrepresentative of the LGBTQ+ community. However, it is in the actor's personal identity and relationship to the story itself that is being called out as misrepresentative. In these previous examples, all of the characters played by these actors were either a portrayal of or based from a real-life queer person. People often think that because anyone could possibly be queer, then anyone can play a queer character. And perhaps for some characters this can be the case, but for other characters the casting of a straight performer can teeter on offensive.
I told them that I was gay, and they said that they would take me to therapy to change myself completely.
And since films centered around LGBTQ+ characters are often about the character's specific struggles, whether that be with coming out or having AIDS or just generally being persecuted and punished, it seems unjust to take the true stories of marginalized groups without hiring the actual marginalized people in which these stories are about. But sometimes they aren't about the struggles. Sometimes it can just be about love. And why can't straight actors accurately portray a love story between a homosexual couple? Love is love. But the casting reveals more about the industry than the actual individual projects. When a straight actor takes on a gay role, numerous articles appear online questioning whether the actor has the authority to perform as that character. This question, however, is just one small corner in the larger and frequently debated question of whether it is possible to separate the art from the artist. The debate against straight actors playing queer roles isn't primarily against the fact that straight actors can't play these roles, but rather that straight actors are preferred to play these roles. When there are many LGBTQ+ actors looking for work in film, straight actors should not be implicitly or explicitly preferred to fill such roles. The reverse, however, that if straight actors shouldn't play queer characters, then queer actors shouldn't play straight characters, cannot so easily be debated, seeing as the number of notable straight roles per year is limitless. Kathy Tu, one host from the WNYC's Nancy, an LGBTQ+ news-centered podcast, believes that it is absolutely important for an LGBTQ actors to be given the opportunity to play LGBTQ roles, if only because of the dearth opportunity for LGBTQ actors to be given any roles. And it's frustrating to see straight men, rather than gay men, get accolades for being brave or cheers for being sassy. However, casting directors are not allowed to ask an actor what their sexuality is, and so the onus falls primarily on the actor's own judgment as to whether they should take on the role of a queer person when they are not. When no openly gay actor has ever won the Oscar for Best Actor or Actress in a leading role, it is important to take a closer look at why this trend is occurring. Note that this fact specifically states openly gay actor, Jodie Foster, Kevin Spacey, and Marlon Brando being among some of the queer actors who have won the Oscar for Best Actor/Actress in a leading role, but were not openly queer at the time when the Academy were voting. Openly queer actors have won in the supporting actor/actress categories, but the Academy has yet to acknowledge the notion that a queer actor could possibly lead an award-winning film. Ian McKellen, who has been twice nominated for the Academy Award, one in leading and one in supporting, wonders whether this is prejudice or chance, and goes on to say that the Oscars voting system was not fit for purpose. McKellen outlines how the voting body of the Academy Award does not represent the diversity of the working actors in which it awards. If you are trying to have a career as a Black or Hispanic actor in a state, California, where white people are now the minority, and you are being judged by Academy where the vast majority are white, male, middle-aged, and old, well, perhaps this is the wrong yardstick. McKellen's comments came in 2016, however, when the Academy Awards were receiving backlash in their nominations through the trending #OscarsSoWhite. And the Academy has since tried to expand and diversify their voters to include more people of color, women, and younger age groups. This push for diversity, however, may have just created an academy full of liberal homophobes who support the notion and idea of LGBTQ+ rights and representation in film without actually realizing the stigmatization of queer romance that frequently continues before their eyes. For example, within Call Me By Your Name, Guadagnino presents the audiences with scenes of Oliver and Elio flirting, kissing, and even, albeit for a few seconds from a censored view, engaging in oral sex. But as the couple comes together for an act of sexual intimacy, Guadagnino coyly diverts the audience's eye away from the scene in an attempt to only imply the action that the two partake in, without having to display it to the audience. Many people have objected to the lack of explicit gay interaction shown on screen in Call Me By Your Name, claiming Guadagnino to have diluted its queerness from the novel, and even the screenplay. James Ivory, an openly gay screenwriter who adapted Call Me By Your Name for film, stated, "Certainly in my screenplay there were all sorts of nudity, and there isn't, which I think is kind of a pity." Guadagnino responded by saying that Ivory was a little tone-deaf about the situation, that nobody who knows my work can say to me with a straight face that I am shy about male or female or other gendered nudity. Others do not see the dilution as a bad thing, however, claiming that by not outright displaying the sexual content found within Aciman's novel, normalizes rather than stigmatizes homosexual love. Guadagnino agrees with this sentiment and, in response to the question of diluting the gay scenes in his films, said, "It's as if you said there are not enough shots of Shanghai. I don't understand why there has to be Shanghai in this movie." Of course, the sexual explicitness of the interaction between two queer characters in a queer film based off a book that is highly regarded in the queer community seems to be more important to the story than the Shanghai skyline, but Guadagnino persists. "I pride myself on a more dignified and sophisticated sense of voyeurism than a need to stare at other people's sexes." When I was at school, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis released a single titled Same Love, featuring Mary Lambert in 2012, in which the issues of gay and lesbian marriage rights were raised. The song acquired worldwide success, topping the charts in Australia and New Zealand, was nominated at the Grammys for Song of the Year, and became the first top 40 song in the US to promote and celebrate same-sex marriage. I remember coming to school and having a teacher discuss the song with me. She told me about how she was listening to the song and that she understood how silly it was to judge someone based on their preferences in love. It was a great thing to hear, but upon a closer reading of the song, we see it slip into that liberal homophobic outlook. At the beginning of Same Love, Macklemore raps,
"When I was in the 3rd grade, I thought that I was gay, cause I could draw, my uncle was, and I kept my room straight. I told my mom, tears rushing down my face, she's like, Ben, you've loved girls since before pre-K, tripping. Yeah, I guess she had a point, didn't she? Bunch of stereotypes all in my head. I remember doing the math, like, yeah, I'm good at Little League, a preconceived idea of what it all meant."
The entire introduction to the song spends its time establishing that Macklemore should not cry over being gay, because, in fact, he is straight. Furthermore, Macklemore reassures himself that he is not gay by saying,
"Yeah, I'm good at Little League,"
which directly contradicts the point he makes about
bunch of stereotypes all in my head,
by furthering the stereotype that only straight men can be good at NFL. For the rest of the song, while raising good points on the stigmatization of the word gay and equal marriage rights, Macklemore will continue to draw an unnecessary distinction between him, a straight male, and queer people.
"There is no difference. I might not be the same, but that's not important."
If it's not that important, then it may not be necessary to note the dissimilarity between the two. While it was nice to hear my teacher describe how impactful the song was on her views towards same-sex marriage, it is exactly for this reason that it is so crucial that we articulate and depict these stories as accurately as possible. And this should mean hearing it from the marginalized groups that it's trying to celebrate and discuss. I think at times we can take for granted not only how entertainment media shapes large parts of our beliefs, but how it also has the power to broaden our understanding of the people around us. It is apparent that Hollywood doesn't plan on never casting a straight person in a queer role anytime soon, but it is happening less as time moves on. And every time it does happen, the conversation and debate gets ignited once again. Stories affect how we live our lives, how we see each other, how we think about ourselves, and it is important that we get those stories right.
Look, you had a beautiful friendship. Maybe more than a friendship. And I envy you. My place, most parents would hope the whole thing goes away. Pray their sons land on their feet, but I am not such a parent.